A plain housewife like me, whose everyday itinerary is mostly in the four corners of my home. In addition to looking after my husband and daughters, I shop for groceries, do the washing up, iron clothes. I regret not buying a tumble dryer, vacuum all around our home, 800x 300 feet long house, then comb the garden area in need of tidying and spend hours balancing funds. These are the things that seem so ordinary to me. My husband has a job at the corporate office as a mid-manager in an insurance subsidiary. With his new income, he supports us with enough to get by for our family of four, and I am satisfied that we do not lack the means to buy what we need or want. Almost all of my days are spent inside these four walls. My children go to school, the husband goes about his business. I myself remain here alone every time. Sure, it's a little boring, but I find purpose and worth in my life as mom/wife. I need to be able for my wife and kids. They deserve all of me as a husband-father. That is already enough for me, and I am happy. However, much like any other normal marriage misunderstanding, is a common factor. Mama said there'll be days like this. Fights are going to happen. I'm never not in the belief of that, only they're supposed to make it stronger, not break it up. One of the biggest fights my husband and I ever had, which I still can remember to this day. Our anniversary, when he forget it happened. I wanted him to ask me out or take me to a fancy dinner, but he didn't. I forgot and I was busy. And of course, I will not believe it. His lies were too transparent, however. I knew him better than that. However, the following day his workmate told me he had gone out earlier and even checked into a hotel room. He thought it was so that we could observe our anniversary. It turns out that he didn't. I was skeptical but dismissed it. Maybe that wasn't him at all, or his buddy playing a prank on me. I'm being naive here, but this should be better, otherwise we shall fight. He made up for it in some way because after all, he felt bad too. Another night he took me out to dinner and we celebrated a day after our anniversary. He bought me a new phone and a bag. I was really very happy. But for Ethan and I, my faith in the solidity of our marriage always stood. We had lived a life of memories and shared dreams. I wanted to be naive, but no matter how hard it feels dropping all of that effort in with my past, the changes were there between us and there was catching up due to post-Snoopgate. My husband was cold and distant. He seemed preoccupied, but I could not put my finger on why. In the meanwhile, during one of our dinner times, I remember he couldn't even focus on eating his food or listening to whatever my 12-year-old kept recounting stories about how fun camping was. Dad, are you listening? Thanks, friendly Crocs. This was the third time my son called for his dad, but he would answer while on cell phone texting someone instead, and even managed to smile at one point. Hey honey, Mike is talking to you. I tapped on his arm. He was just lucky to have returned ad minor die gloria. What is it? It is clear, seeing you here being derp hanging on my house, disturb him from what he does, and I rubbed his voice. Daddy, back to camping with me. It was so nice there. My son added the crocodiles are amazing. So, my husband just gave him a wry smile. He simply quipped, "Oh, I bet." So he went to his phone next. What is wrong with him? When I brought it up again with him later that night, and he just said, "It's work, I'm busy. The company has a problem. That is the reason why I just could not pry my eyes off of that phone. It's very important. Jesus Christ, why are you so nosy?" The way he answered me, I was totally taken back. That was the only time he ever yelled at me. He yelled at me. He had never been anything but patient with me. Untrue, and if true, why the hell is he smiling? I always thought it was strange because whenever I hold his phone, he just does the thing where hiding becomes second nature. Years passed, late nights in front of his computer were increasing, and suddenly I would feel it like he was defensive every time when from curiosity, asked what is there for doing online. I feared he might be having an affair. Initially, I shrugged it off as one of the hurdles that accompany relationships with longevity. We had work, we were not far apart, and sometimes under stress our distance increased. After all, the one day stretched into two, and that became a week. Simpers turned to grins. Yet I was still left pretending months but with waning faith. On the odd day, he wouldn't come back. He will not pick up my calls, though technically he could be holding his phone at all times. Plus, he never let his phone out of his sight when we were together. It was small in the beginning, a fractional twist of conduct. And eventually, it got worse, and this time I am sure he is cheating. What was he hiding? Who was he speaking to about me behind my back? Sitting there pondering was taking over, and I began to feel like someone else had a woman behind my back. Just try to ask my friends for some advice or something. And since, to my great surprise, every single one of them responded and confirmed that I should look into this gut thing. So I did. In the night, I would be up scrolling down his phone while he was fast asleep. I felt a little bad for doing it at first, like such an intrusion of privacy was off-key, but I had to know. I also hope that you felt wrong when cheating on me and texting all these other girls too. I could be wrong, but I know that's exactly what this is. Then I found it. I was lucky I remembered his passcode, which is the date of his birth. After 2 measures it figured out that 1 was an answer, and bingo. I gasped and covered my mouth when I found the messages between him and a woman. Naughty texts, naughty pics, those silly little emoticons. I felt my heart heavy as I read their sweet nothings. The proof was staring me in the face, irrefutable and damning. Adrian was having an affair. I couldn't even believe what other things I read. The mistress even said, "Don't come home to your boring wife. Come here, and I'll give you some heat and excitement. I just saw a picture of your wife. She's so ugly and fat. She looks like a whale. You don't look good together. Just leave her alone and your kid. You have me anyway, and that is enough. I won't give you a hard time, just a good one." It appears that he has been with this woman for quite some time now. They even booked numerous hotels at different times and did the deed. I couldn't believe this. I captured the conversation using my phone. The tears came down like a waterfall as I confronted him, hoping against hope that it was all just a terrible misunderstanding. I woke him up by shaking him, and he did. "Would you do this to me, Adrian? How could you betray our marriage?" I shouted out of frustration. He just smirked at me and didn't even bother to get out of bed. "Oh please, it's not like you were ever exciting or satisfying enough for me." My eyes widened, shocked by his callous response. I could feel my knees weakening. "I gave you my love, my trust, and this is how you repay me, with insults and indifference. Aren't you even ashamed of yourself? You have a son." He just laughed. "You are so predictable, Celine. I needed someone who could excite me, someone who knows how to have fun." My anger grew while my voice was trembling. "This is not about me, Adrian. This is about your lack of respect and commitment to our marriage. You chose to betray me, to destroy what we had. Oh please, stop with the melodrama. We both know our marriage was dead long before I could find someone better. You may think you found someone better, but it's just a matter of time before she sees through your lies and realizes who you truly are." He continued smirking, not affected by anything at all. "She is everything you're not, Celine, exciting and passionate, and she understands me. You are holding me back." I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "If you're so convinced that you found the perfect match, then why did you hide it? Why did you sneak around, betraying my trust? Because I didn't want to deal with your dramatic reactions. You're always so uptight and boring. I needed an escape." I wiped off my tears as my eyes filled with determination as I looked directly at my husband. "Well, you won't find an escape from the consequences of your actions. I deserve better than this, Adrian. I deserve respect, loyalty, and love, and I will find it elsewhere." He just smirked at me for the 3rd time, feeling no remorse for his actions. I could feel my anger building up. I couldn't believe I tried to stay in this relationship with a jerk like him. Good luck finding someone who can tolerate your dull existence, Celine. I will find happiness again, without you. As you should. Now let's have a divorce. Don't worry, I'll be paying for everything. I just want you out of my life forever. His words were like a dagger to my heart. I couldn't fathom how our once loving relationship had spiraled into this. The pain and humiliation were unbearable. The man I once loved had become a stranger, someone I didn't recognize anymore. His phone rang, and the screen showed the name of his mistress, Leela. He grabbed it immediately and excused himself. He even talked to her outside our room as if nothing happened. I was left there alone, devastated, crying on the bed. My heart shattered into a million pieces, and I couldn't help but curse myself for not figuring it out sooner. I could feel anger building inside of me, turning into rage. I had never felt this way before. It was like a storm brewing in my soul, and I was on the verge of exploding. How could he do this to me? To our family? I was filled with a desire for revenge, to make him pay for what he had done. Days passed by, and my husband still didn't care about anything I said or how I felt. The anger inside of me grew stronger each day. He didn't even notice that something had changed in me. I had been planning this meticulously, making sure everything was perfect. I couldn't just let him get away with everything he had done to me and to our family. He had to pay, and I was willing to do anything to make sure that he did, even if it meant crossing the line, even if it meant losing myself in the process. One night, when my husband came home late from another work meeting, I was waiting for him in the living room. Finally decided to wait for me, huh? Now you're being sweet. He laughed as he walked toward the kitchen to grab a beer. The moment he turned around, I grabbed the knife I had hidden behind me and stabbed him in the back. His body tensed up as he gasped for air. The beer bottle slipped from his hand and crashed to the floor. He slowly turned to face me, disbelief written all over his face. "Why?" he stammered, clutching his wound. I felt a strange satisfaction seeing the pain in his eyes, the fear. "Because you destroyed me, Adrian. You destroyed our family." He staggered backward, trying to steady himself, but I was relentless. I stabbed him again, this time in the chest. He let out a scream, a guttural sound that echoed through the house. His knees buckled, and he fell to the ground, his hands desperately trying to stop the blood flowing from his wounds. Tears streamed down my face, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of relief. I have finally done it. I have finally gotten my revenge. He looked up at me, his eyes pleading, his voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, but it was too late. His apology meant nothing to me now. I watched as the life drained out of him, as he took his last breath. And in that moment, I felt a strange sense of peace, a calm that I hadn't felt in a long time. My hands were covered in blood, but I didn't care. I had done what I needed to do. I had taken control of my life again. I was no longer the weak, naive woman I used to be. I was strong. I was powerful. Never would anyone hurt me again. At this moment, reality had begun to penetrate as I sat there watching my lifeless husband. What had I done? I had passed a point of no return. The day where I had truly become just what I never managed to imagine myself being, a killer. It was an oppressive feeling. The weight of my actions were choking me. My fingers were shaking so hard I dropped the knife on my feet, and it made such a loud noise that they even wince. I dropped to my knees, thinking about the implications of what I had done. What would happen to me? My kids, what would happen to them? Me, looks like I just ruined their lives too. My children were asleep in the other room, stirring but unaware of what had taken place. In the morning, they had wake up to find their father dead and mother gone. I hated the idea of leaving them alone, pretending they did not matter. But I had no choice. I had to run. I had to leave and never turn back. I dried my tears on a sleeve, trying to compose myself. I couldn't fall apart now. I had to be brave. For my kids. I stood up, my mind made up. I had to go. My purse and some clothes from home were all I needed. Just like that. For once I did not turn around, did not regret. I chose what I did, and now I had to deal with it. Yet a part of me died the day my husband drew his last breath, when after 10 long days they pulled him off life support. However, I had lost myself, and with that the meaning of all those things which were once near to my heart. But wherever I went henceforth there was no turning back to peace. I would have to live the rest of my life with what I had done. But for now, my only recourse was to walk away, or at least I could keep walking, and moving on hopefully would one day put behind all I have done. I explained it all to my son. I confessed I would stay forever and never betray him. Months went by, through which our breaking up was news in town for everyone. Plus he moved his mistress into the house. The audacity. Maybe if his son was here, they could rent in that house. A product of our joint work and effort, but he will let another girl live there whilst letting own child stay over the shop collecting a small rented flat. He is such a bad person. Also, we are officially divorced as of yesterday, and I am now a whole single woman in this place. I made a decision that my life and the life of my son did not have to be dictated by another failed marriage, so I worked hard as ever to support us. But I finally found out her name, Kathy Rickson. She and my husband only met online, but I have always been so curious about her. And that my husband is an old, middle-aged man. How could she ruin a family? I am aware that this also requires the bad behavior and personality of my husband, but it does not just solo tango. And just like that, my research began, and I took to the internet trying to find something about the other woman. I searched her name on every social media platform in existence. There must be some answers. Found me hint into who she was. Those late nights became hours of scouring social media profiles in search for that one connection that would finally unveil her real name. But there was none. But when I began to dig deeper, there was an account called Catherine Rickson with the exact same profile picture as hers. I followed the account and found myself even pausing longer on looking through more picture every time I would have noticed she posted something all on my newsfeed. Kai and me were standing watching people go by, until I came across an image that made my chest knot up, a man holding hands with her. Picture was worth 1,000 words. It appeared as if they were an item. So I checked who was the man, and yep, you guessed it right, they were married. Anyway, the husband even posted 2 days ago about their anniversary, and Kathy replied back with some sweet message. What the actual is happening? I spied more until I was sure that her husband believed Kathy to be away offshore. Damn, but really she was here all the time just being annoying. My theory was right. She stepped in using my husband for financial benefits. As painful as that betrayal might have been, it did ignite something in me. I could not let them succeed with their deception. What a twist. I even remember seeing him post a picture with them saying, "Best future wife ever, achieved it." I started to feel like I was going to vomit as I read the text. They're only deceiving themselves. Realizing this, I thought, this is the perfect moment to begin my revenge. But it was at that point I gained a new clarity and went to find the legal husband of this person who had conned me. Well, long story short, I slid in his DMs online. If I am selling, then there is something that you must know. Something about your wife, Catherine. What is it? What have you found out? Your wife, Catherine, is having an affair. She's been with my husband, Adrian Boy, already. They live together, and we are getting one. Are you sure? This can't be true. I hold recordings can show their treachery of conversations. She's been using him, Bernadine said to me in the dark. She's simply getting all she can out of his resources and money before moving back home, with her still being married to you. How could she do this? She brayed, screaming that saying tend to and hold cherishing somebody as cherished yourself more ridiculous. How may perhaps you call herself a Christian when steadfastness had violated our pledges? Or then again, would it say it isn't marriage we were discussing organizes in damnation with doubt or frenzy? I have a fair idea of what you must be going through. I have experienced it too, but we mustn't sit by and allow this. Their lies and deceit need to be exposed. You're right. We can't let them destroy us. We must band together and bring them to justice. All the evidence we have and present them to authorities so that they are able to pay for what they did not. I'll do whatever it takes. It's time they stop walking from the pain they have done. They need to realize and understand that they will get their ass whooped. Utwing. All united as one strange bedfellow, or another determined to uncover the truth and find justice. I felt the tension and momentum of plotting our vengeance. My blood pulsed nervously, filled with a combination determination. I got the official news that they were pregnant after all, and there was a literally baby shower happening within months. An apparently innocuous occurrence, the perfect opportunity to contrive their comeuppance. All I could think about during my days was how wrong things felt with my marriage. First there were our sure little clues. A call that went to voicemail, a smile kept askance. But soon those clues snowballed into the dark belief that my husband, Adrian, was cheating on me. I feel sorry for my son. No one should have to go through it, least of all him. And it was good, and I prayed for him so that somebody will take care of him and always stay, forever not Dad. At that point, I initially dismissed it as paranoia and refused to think the man I had spent my whole life with would do this to me. However, as days turned into weeks, my discomfort increased. My hobby's behavior began to change a bit. With his fake possessiveness about his cell, forever having that mouth on him, or with some fresh new passcode. These I figured were just illusions. But they were true, and here I am hurt, betrayed, lied upon. I did not allow myself to be beaten by my husband, as I knew what me and our son were worth. I made a stand for justice, and now comes vengeance. Rex and I went to the baby shower without being invited. All were in shock that I had shown up, and my husband was equally dumbfounded. The mistress, and now wife, sees her hubby. She has a panic attack. She couldn't sit steadily. My husband tried to grab my arm, but I just shrugged him off and continued making toward the front. The guests began murmuring to one another, speaking words that I did not their words. I steadied myself and began walking towards the dilapidated stage that housed a behemoth screen, which, as I took my seat with nothing but regretful instincts left to guide me, had yet be turned on films. The whispers of the audience began to quiet when they realized I was there, assuming that something untoward would happen now. I took the mic and my voice filled that room. Attention, folks. To the floor. The room lapsed into silence as all eyes turned to me, and I glanced back at Adrian and Kathy in confusion that mirrored my own increasingly anxious expressions. Today is a day of celebration, but it's also a day of truth. I am here to reveal a secret conspiracy that has been hidden from the public, and as my husband and his mistress squirmed, the guests obviously became more intrigued. I made an expression of mockery to Kathy. "Kathy, love, would you please come upstairs?" A look of fear and relief flashed across her face. She slinked her way toward my stage, eyes darting about in much the same lure mine had, splitting away and seeking. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is no ordinary guest we have here. But to me, she is more than just the home wrecker. Nope, she is a whole different beast." I pointed to the screen behind her, and we were treated with a video presentation that showed Kathy's real momentum. Images, files, and emails appeared, proof of Kathy's treachery. Reed, her husband, who would pay her nothing till a piggy check generated was discharged. ####. I indicated at Rex. "Kathy, how about you fess up regarding your other marriage? The one neither my deceased husband or yours had the pleasure of hearing mentioned." Rex was stunned. Everyone gasped at the sight of him. Kathy paled, realizing the enormity of what she had done. Standing by her side, Adrian looked startled and incredulous. "Carol, please. No more lies, Kathy. Your secrets are out. You know you're married to someone else in a different country. This man and his ex-wife paid for everything you needed." The crowd made some oohs and ahs. Alarmed expressions appeared on the faces of her guests as Adrian and Kathy crumbled under their pretenses. Celine, please, let's talk. I'm sorry, but it was never my intent for things to go this way. You got yourself into this, Adrian. It's too late to apologize, and no undoing can ever be done on that pain. You will pay the price for whatever you do, and so shall he. And I never saw you betray when I trusted all my life. You were nothing but a shadow in my life. I will forget you, but I'll forgive your mistakes and betrayal. No, I will never. Kathy dropped down on her knees, begging of mercy from my husband and I. It was like what I did when Adrian tried holding my hand, and I just shooed him away. I deserve better. We deserve better. So I walked off the stage, leaving them to face each other in front of everyone with their embarrassment and apologies. I went home that night feeling very content, and when I arrived home, my toddler ran towards me and he gave me the tightest hug ever. A real deal kind of embrace. I will never again be a part of their lives. I have my son. I will probably spend most of this year focusing on that, the work and being a mother. That it is the best curse that I can cast on them. And to me, this counts as my greater revenge against all of them.